of Iraq to stay together within the united Iraq. If it's not implemented, then the people of Iraq, any section within the society, have the right to decide to break away from this unity. So it's a free will. Institutions in Iraq are not working. Have a look at the parliament. What we see in the last 10 years, 15 years in Iraq, that Kurdish people, they vote for their own political parties. Sunnis, they vote for their political parties. Shias vote likewise for their political parties. So within the parliament, you have three blocks: Kurds, Shias, and Sunnis, and they don't work together. When there is a vote, the Kurds, they either all vote yes or no together. Sunnis the same, Shias the same. So you see, it's the country and its institution, the biggest institution in the country, is divided along ethnic and sectarian lines. And this is not sustainable. You cannot go on forever with this mentality and with this setup. The room is almost full now. That's good. And this setup in Iraq, this political setup in Iraq, again, it's not justified because, for example, in order to gain a seat as a member of the parliament, if you are Kurdish from the north of Iraq, then you have to gain around 20 to 25,000 votes to be a member of the parliament. But in some areas in Iraq, for example, in Najaf, you need only about 1,500 votes to become a member of the parliament. You know, the prime minister, all the MPs in Kurdistan, they have more than 20,000 of votes, and then they were elected as members of the parliament. But the prime minister of Iraq, he gathered less than 4,000 votes, and now he's the prime minister of Iraq. In some places around Basra and Nasiriyah, some people are elected as the member of the parliament in Iraq, and they have about 700 votes. So you see, the biggest institution in the country, the setup within that institution is not justified, it's just broken. Iraq also, another point to argue that it's breaking completely, is that Iraq has become a proxy of Iran. About a month ago, Qasem Soleimani, at a Friday prayers, said this. He said, Hashd al-Shabi, or the Populist Mobilization Unit in Iraq, which is the biggest military force now in Iraq, he said now they are another Hezbollah in the region. This is the biggest army in Iraq. In Qasem Soleimani's words, it's Hezbollah. It tells you how Iraq is a proxy at the moment. Hezbollah, PMU, sometimes called PMF, Populist Mobilization Force, or some people say Populist Mobilization Unit. It's more powerful than the Iraqi army. When the ISIS war happened, Iraqi army deserted all their places with their armament, with their money, everything. ISIS took over, and 3 years after that, PMU managed to recapture these places, these Sunni places from ISIS. And now PMU is in charge of Mosul, in charge of many Sunni areas, because if they are not there, then ISIS will come back. Now when they are there, they are committing crimes against the Sunnis, against the Sunni minorities, Arab Sunnis, and this is going on and on every day, and it's affecting everyone in the Sunni places of Iraq. There are hundreds of examples to give you, and I'm sure most of you are aware why Iraq cannot stay together. These are just two examples I gave you of the force within Iraq, and also how the Iraqi parliament is not working. So because of all these problems, the Kurdish leadership, they think that it's time to decide whether they want to stay with Iraq or to leave Iraq together. Now, there is a huge argument. People might say the Kurdish leadership is trying to do that so they have a mandate in their hand and they want to bargain with it so they could get more rights within Iraq. Whether it's true or not, it remains to be seen. I'll come back to it later. Maybe later you have questions on that and we could answer. But in 9 days, if things go according to what the president of Kurdistan said last night, in 9 days there is no way that anybody can cancel this referendum on the 25th. With Iraq, you have to look at Syria. And Syria, more than Iraq, it's broken into pieces. Again, there is no force in the world and in the region can reassemble these pieces together. So you see, the Sunnis of Iraq now are working with the Sunnis in Syria more than ever before, and the Shia are the same. Unfortunately for Kurds, although there is negotiation going on between Kurds in Iraq and Syria, but the unification or the understanding, we don't have that kind of understanding that Sunnis have together between Iraq and Syria and Shias, but we don't have that until now. Kurds in Iraq believe that Iraq is rotten and they don't want to be a part of that failure. And whether Kurds will vote to break up from Iraq or to stay with Iraq, again, it remains to be seen. But we believe that the majority of people, the overwhelming majority of people, will vote to break away from Iraq. They will vote for independence. There will be some votes for no, but it doesn't mean that they want to be a part of Iraq. It's a vote of protest against the leadership of the country, against the Kurdish leadership, but not a vote for staying with Iraq. There won't be that. And if you look at the campaign of those people who are campaigning to say no to at the referendum, they say no for now. Yes for independence, but not now. They think this is not the right time. But with that, we think the majority of people, probably around 75% of the people, will vote yes for independence. That's a huge gain for the Kurdish leadership to have that. When Kurdistan will be independent, again, we don't know. This is an opportunity for people to decide what they want, but when Kurdistan will become independent, we don't know. Having said that, Kurdistan, if they voted yes or no, there is no way that Iraq can come back together. Iraq is broken, as we discussed earlier, and as most of you know, I don't have to preach about it, and I don't need to educate you about it because you all know how broken the country is. So Kurdish independence is imminent, and if it's not imminent, it will be coming in a few years because Iraq cannot stay together. South of Iraq, the Shias in south of Iraq, they don't work together either. If you look at Basra, the people who are in charge of Basra, they don't take orders from Baghdad at all. The army, the prime minister of the country, by the constitution of the country, he's chief of commander, he's in charge of the army, but he cannot say anything to the army. His words doesn't mean anything for the army. The PMU, again, by the constitution, he's in charge of the PMU, but Hadi Amri a few times said Maliki is more in charge of the PMU rather than the prime minister of the country. So if Kurds are not a part of Iraq in the next parliamentary election in April, who is going to be in charge of Iraq? This is the worry that America and the West are concerned, and this is the main reason that they are pushing the Kurdish leadership and the Kurdish political parties to postpone the referendum. Because the worry is, if Kurds are not part of Iraq, then there is no way that the current prime minister, who is seen by America and the West as a good guy, as a guy who can keep Iran out of Iraqi business, and he cannot be re-elected. Because if Kurds are not participating, if they are not going to a coalition with this government, then there is no way that he can be the prime minister after April. The most populous guy among the Shia, who are the majority of Iraq, about 55 to 58% of Iraq, is Maliki, Nuri al-Maliki. So no doubt within the Shia region he will gain the majority of votes like last time. But the reason we have today's prime minister in Iraq, this so-called good guy in Iraq, is because of the Kurdish coalition with his political bloc. Together they have the majority, and he was elected as the prime minister with that. So if Kurds are not there, then Maliki will come back. If Maliki comes back, Iran will be in charge of Iraq, and this is a worry for America and for the West. That's why they are trying and pushing the Kurdish leadership to postpone the referendum after the Iraqi referendum. So far, the Kurds have been very stubborn. Barzani has been very stubborn, and he truly demonstrates that he's very Kurdish for being very stubborn. But in 9 days, if things go accordingly, then this is a historic moment, and things will follow that. I think, regardless whether Kurds will want to stay with Iraq or not, Iraq cannot stay together. Iraq is broken, and for that, Kurds are not responsible for it. Even Shias and Sunnis cannot work together. ISIS demonstrated that Iraq, geographically, politically, economically, and religiously, in some ways, is divided. So I'll leave you with that, and let's hope that the referendum goes on in 9 days, and the majority of Kurds will vote yes for Kurdish independence. And with that, I'll conclude, and I hope you will take my talk as a political statement rather than an academic debate. Mainly because at the moment, everywhere in Iraqi Kurdistan engage, every society, every place in Iraqi Kurdistan, all the society are engaged with this debate. And it's good to update people here on that. And if you have any questions regarding what I said, maybe I could answer later.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much.
I will stay here for questions, maybe. Oh. So, any question, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question. What's your idea about the point that the no vote for independent Kurdistan is raised from a specific region in the KRG?
Yeah, the majority of no vote is coming from Sulaimani, but if you look at history, even the recent history, most of our thinkers on Kurdish nationalism are from Sulaimani. Again, the no vote, if you even look at the logo, the way they talk, the political engagement they have with people, it's not against the independence of Kurdistan. It's a no vote against Barzani. It's no vote against the leadership of Kurdistan. So it's mainly coming from Sulaimani region, but within Sulaimani they are a minority, they are not a big majority. Probably most of you have looked at the gathering they had. They were hoping to fill up the stadium of Sulaimani Day, but only about 1,000 or 1,500 people turned up for the no vote. Yeah.
Question else? So, the end.
Maybe you cannot give, but I want to ask, when is the right time for the people who said no? You told that there are people who said no They are not against independence, but they are saying no for not this time. And what is the right time for that?
Okay.
And another question maybe related to what's going to happen, or what is going to affect the Kurds in general if the referendum is cancelled? Because last night or maybe today, White House has a written statement that referendum must be cancelled.
Yeah, I'll answer with the last question and then we'll go to your first question. It wasn't the White House, it was the State Department. And within the State Department, I was in America and I was talking to some people there, including people in the Congress. I came, yesterday from there. We held talks with people in Congress, with people at the State Department and other places. They don't have a coherent voice or strategy. Some people, even within the State Department, some people believe that it's the right time, some people say no. The majority people from the State Department will say no, obviously. But if you go to Congress, it's a different matter. And what yesterday you heard, it wasn't the White House, it was the State Department.
But even the White House came on here and did a statement last night.
Last night?
Yeah, very late.
I didn't see that.
I saw that.
My apology if so, I didn't see that. If it's postponed, what Kurdish leadership are asking, what Barzani is asking, is that there will be an alternative that is better than Kurdish referendum. And in his speech yesterday, he said the better alternative is that Article 140 will be implemented, and that is to hold a referendum in the areas, the disputed areas, where the people in disputed areas, places like Kirkuk, Sinjar, and so on, will decide whether to be governed by KRG, Kurdistan Regional Government, or the central government in Baghdad. And also, within that, there should be another time that Iraqis and the international forces will abide when to hold the referendum. There should be an alternative for that. And what he is asking, in fact, it would be better than the referendum. If Iraqi forces, and Iraq and the coalitions in Iraq, as well as the United Nations, agree to set another time for referendum, and for all of them to abide by it, to be a binding referendum, a binding result, there would be a better choice. But if not, then I think people will cast their votes in 9 days. And to my mind, I don't know. I know that the Kurdish leadership are under huge pressure right now. But I think if things stand as today, the vote will happen regardless.
Well, thank you. Let's have one question. Dr. Amiri. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Zagros. Because we live in Iraq, we are not updated on the question. I just wanted to know if we have some high-profile intellectuals among those people who oppose the referendum at this moment.
Not really, except there is intellectual. There is only Farouk Rafiq is with those people. But again, what he said his no vote, it doesn't mean that he doesn't believe in that, but he believes this is not the right time, and he believes the vote, it's not for independence, but rather some politicians within the leadership are trying to hang on to power forever. That's why they are holding that. That was his argument. But within the camp, they are quite broken. For example, Shaswar Abdul Wahid, who is leading the camp, the no camp, he said this. He said, this vote, it's for Barzani to stay in power forever. And 5 minutes after that, at the end, he said he's going to conclude his speech with this. If people voted yes, then Iran and Turkey will come and invade Iraqi Kurdistan. So you see, it doesn't make any sense. On the one hand, he says a yes vote is for Barzani to stay in power forever. On the other hand, he said if people of Kurdistan voted yes, then Turkey and Iran will come and invade Kurdistan, and we will lose everything that we have right now. So, the only intellectual I've seen that is with him is Farouk Rafiq. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.